we are pivoting to one of our leaders that that not only took a moment to step in, Sonya Vasquez, to introduce Dr. Carlisle, but really that will showcase insight to some of our place-based initiatives. Sonya Vasquez is a longtime leader for CHC in the community, but has over 20 years of experience, not only in improving outcomes and community well-being efforts, but really a focus on early childhood education, youth development, and development of quality healthcare systems and place-based initiatives. Her expertise lie in a multitude of areas. She has been leading within the CHC family for many years. Many of you know her very well, and think of CHC and think of Sonya as an equal reminder in our lives. Sonya, please take it away. She is not only our Chief Transformation Officer, but one of our leading women at CHC.
Thank you so much, Diane, and hello everyone. I'm so excited to be here, although it seems weird to say that, to be here, but to be with you in this virtual world. And I do miss seeing you all. You know, for those of you that know me, I love to be able to see you and interact with you, and unfortunately I'm not going to be able to do as much of that today. However, I do have some wonderful information I want to share with you, and I want to pre-apologize to Pilar, because she's probably going to have to yell at me the most to slow down, and I will do as I was told, to pin her so that I see her always looking at me and telling me what to do. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully this will work right. Alrighty, it is not, you're not seeing double. You will see throughout the text sort of repeated, one time in English, one time in Spanish, so that we have it both for our Spanish speakers, or monolingual Spanish speakers on the line, and when we share it, that they can enjoy this presentation too, because this presentation is as much about the residents that have participated in our place-based initiatives that we've had the opportunity to support, as much as it is about what we're learning. CHC began in, as we've already discussed, CHC began in 1992, right after the civil unrest. And it was created for the express purpose, and I'm going to read this because this is super important. I found some very early documents that say exactly what CHC was created for. To be a mechanism that will enable local communities to improve their health status and help local governments and institutions shape their response to the healthcare crisis in Los Angeles. And as you see, the reason we're named community health councils is because we ran these 12, I think that's right, 12 councils across the county, really. And actually, the Long Beach Council still exists today in a different form. And one of these days, I'm going to go and find more. When I write the history of CHC, the documentary, we'll interview them and see how that has continued to grow. Today, I get to share lessons with you from 3 of our place-based initiatives that we've had the opportunity to provide backbone support services for. And I share this history with you because I want you all to see that for CHC, it is embedded in our DNA to this need to convene and support community discussion in order to identify and address barriers to health and well-being. What the lessons that we've learned, and I'm going to share with you today, actually grew out of these community coalitions that we help to support, and really grew and continued these lessons from countless of issue-specific coalitions that focus on health, food access, environmental health, 2 decades of a partnership with the Centers for Disease Control to use a broad range of social determinants strategies to address health disparities predominantly impacting African American and Latinx populations. We had our African American Building a Legacy of Health Consortium, a United for Health, which was a community transformation grant, and Partners in Health, which was a REACH grant. And the African American Building a Legacy of Health Consortium was part of the REACH 2010 and REACH US grants. I would love to be able to sit and talk to you about all of these all of these past initiatives. However, we don't have time for that. There is more on our website, www.chc-inc.org. I'm sure our chat monitors will share that. Any websites that I have for you today. And any websites that I mentioned today will be listed on the final slide, so you'll have access to
Lo
those.
que voy a mencionar hoy va a estar también en una de las diapositivas para que lo puedan compartir, para que lo puedan ver.
All right, so just so that we all have the same definition,
Para que
right?
todos utilicemos las mismas
And Pilar, I
definiciones.
can hear you, so I think you're speaking in the English channel. We good?
Apparently, I was speaking on the English channel. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's
And
okay.
you know what? While I'm here,
Awesome.
yes, please slow down. Thank you.
I was trying to look at you, and then I was like, wait, is she telling me to slow down? All right, I'm slowing down. So that we all have the same definition. What is a backbone support? What is backbone support? And this is actually a definition that builds from a framework called collective impact. And it really is a strong support system that has the management and technical capacity to handle administrative activities, support the vision, and carry the institutional knowledge of the group. It could be a team, it could be an organization, it could be one individual, although one individual having to do all this can be a little crazy. Today, see, as Veronica mentioned in her opening, CHC has had the opportunity to support the implementation of 3 place-based initiatives in South Los Angeles. Now, this is a little different. The way we've been supporting is a little different than a traditional backbone. Ideally, you know, we would be very neutral. We would, you know, would just be really supporting the collaborative and the work that they want to do. We've taken a bit more of a lead in this. You know, the issues that have arisen from these place-based initiatives are really important and critical to the work that CHC does. So in many ways, we work hand in hand in partnership with the collaboratives. But ultimately, the goal is to really create an infrastructure that is sustainable and allows these groups to really be independent entities and not completely rely on CHC for the support needed. Quickly, and again, I can't go too deep on each of these, but Healthy Kid Zones is a concept of CHC, created from CHC, that since 2017, we've been working within a half mile of Fremont High School, located here in South LA, to identify community challenges and health promoting policy solutions. The South LA Building Healthy Communities project is an initiative of the endowment. They have 14 across the state, and it is their effort to work at a local level to create broad statewide impact. And then finally, the Best Start Region 2, this is part of the First 5 LA initiative. Region 2 encompasses the communities of Broadway, Manchester, Compton, East Compton, Watts, Willowbrook, and West Athens. There's 5 regions across the county that they're working with, 14 communities individually. And it really is their effort to catalyze, strengthen, and elevate innovative approaches that improve the lives of children ages prenatal to 5. When it comes to bringing people together to create long-term social change, there are plenty of well-proven models. Again, I don't have time to go through all of these. The slide at the end will have links to every one of these initiatives. But quickly, collective impact is the one framework that talks a lot, probably the most about this idea of a backbone initiative. The Waters of Systems Change is a framework that's really being lifted up a lot in the foundation world, and talks a bit about the need to, although complex, the need to be able to have mind shift, right? To be able to shift the perceptions and the beliefs that people, that hold people in certain, in place and are a barrier to community transformation. The Build Health Challenge is actually a model where funders came together to really address big picture issues and move away from silos. And then our CHC model, many of the components which you'll find in other elements, is really based on how do we engage community members in systems change. Although I will say that model is beginning to evolve and will evolve even more after today's presentation and the things that we're learning. Essentially, they all have the key components of bringing people together, but none of them have the magic, none of them are the magic bullets. There's no magic solution to this, because here's the thing, systems change work is systems change work. And while there are elements that are the same, there's also a lot of uniqueness. And in fact, even today, after this presentation, you're probably gonna have more questions than you have answers, because there's just a lot of elements that we need to struggle through to be able to really figure out what is that magic solution, if we can ever get to one, to be honest. For those of you who know me, you know I like to just sort of set the stage, define, make sure we're all coming from the same foundation. As we all know, systems are very complex, and they're complex because at the end of the day, they are made by people and they're run by people, and people in their best and their finest hours are messy. Probably not as messy as the debates were yesterday, but messy nonetheless. And so, and systems can impact other systems, right? So there's always this constant like complexity and intersectionality of how systems work. The Water of Systems Change has a really great definition of systems change. They say that it really is about shifting the conditions that hold a problem in place. I'll say that again. Shifting the conditions that hold a problem in place. And we all know this is complex work, because we're dealing with shifting mindset, values, habits. My goodness, like I can't tell you how in shock I've been lately that even people that look like me, I thought believe the same things like me, do not. And we always are, it's always about like, how do we shift people from the perspectives, even like shifting people from how do we actually approach this work? Because doesn't have to always be the same. And the conditions and the problems being held in place are not simple either. They're highly intersectional, and how people experience those problems and those conditions can be similar and yet very different, even within a community, within a population, within a household. People are going to experience them very differently. I encourage you, if you can go to SouthLAsTheFuture.org, that's the South LA Building Healthy Communities website, and you'll see on there a report that was written by the partners called South Central Rooted, and it showcases very large, complex, intersecting drivers of disparity and approaches to transforming conditions. So I highly encourage you to take a look at that if you've not already seen it. An ecosystem now is a complex network of people, organizations, and systems that are connected even when they aren't aware of it. Sometimes the connections are positive, sometimes they're negative. And meaningful and sustained change requires the collaborative efforts of multiple partners across multiple sectors working within the ecosystem on multiple issues and systems. That's a lot. It's a lot to digest. We would love for systems change to really be about working one issue. Some of our social justice advocates out there, you work on singular issues, you work on food, you work on healthcare, but we all know that that's not how our communities work. Our communities are not siloed like that. All of these systems have impact. It doesn't mean that we don't have expertise and we don't prioritize when we need to, but it is about how do we really connect and create strategies that have impact on multiple systems and not just singular systems? And how do we create an infrastructure that allows for some structure and foundation to actually move the work and yet is adaptable because our world is constantly shifting, right? We see that today, COVID, the pandemic, you know, all of us, when we sat down and in front of our TV sets in the 2016 election, the world shifted really big, right? And so we always have to be ready for that. So the two lessons, and it's not everything, but the two lessons I want to share with you today is that we need a structured yet adaptable infrastructure and a diverse network to support the ecosystem. And when we talk about the infrastructure, there's two things. The first being the support team. And there's a lot there, so I'm going to quickly go through it because I know I don't have a lot of time, but please, if you have questions, please ask. We'll do our best to get to those probably at the end of today, not quite after my presentation, but we'll discuss that in a second. Ultimately, you need, you know, as Dr. Carlisle showed today, we have a rich history. There's a lot of individuals that have come before us and laid the groundwork for this work. It's the same in collaborative work, right? We have a lot of decisions that were made, protocols, and yet a lot of the people within the collaborative may shift and change. So you need a way to hold that vision, those decisions, protocols, policies. You need to know why things were done a certain way, so you don't have to go back and repeat those decisions. Or just so that you understand. Sometimes it would be great if it's about having a consistent person, but it's not always going to be that. Like life changes. People move in and out of this work. Unfortunately, people pass in our lifetime, and they're not able or their lives shift, and they have to, and with their families and their work, they also have to shift. So it's important to have consistency, but it's also important to think about a succession plan. And I believe that's true in any organization that we're a part of. Like, what is that plan so that as people cycle out, that you constantly are onboarding and make sure people have that foundation of what's happened in the past. And it's important that our support team understands and can address the needs of participants. Interpretation, childcare, food at the meeting, those are important. But our community suffers and is very highly impacted by the systems we're trying to affect, right? It's our residents as well as organizations, our businesses, and other stakeholders that are part of the community. So it's important to know what those are, and not that we have to address them directly, but that we know who else in the community can be brought in to address those, which gets to my next point, which is you have to know the community. You have to know the resources and the expertise available. And again, you may not know everybody, but you know the people to go to that can connect you to other people, right? And you know how to leverage the expertise of your partnership, the residents and the other organizations, so that they can tell you who else to bring in to support this work. And finally, the support team has to anticipate when shifts are necessary. It's important to know the past, but it's equally important to be seeing the future and always looking ahead and preparing to the best of your ability, because sometimes stuff will come down and you can't prepare for it. But to the best of your ability, how are you preparing your partnership for that shift? And the second element under the infrastructure is having an environment of learning and growing. We have to constantly be providing opportunities for people to learn. We are never done learning. As organizations, as entities, as even our philanthropic partners and our public agencies and our elected officials, if they're going to be part of this network, they have to be able and willing to learn as well. So providing those opportunities and encouraging people to be learning. We have to build a diverse pipeline, and you're going to hear a lot of redundancy in what I say because it just is, right? It's all connected. We have to build a diverse pipeline. We have to constantly be bringing new people. It is not fair to rely on the same group of tired and overburdened residents and strapped organizations to do this work. And new people bring new ideas. Every generation is going to have a new way of doing this work. It's not to say that we don't honor the past and we don't honor the way we've done things before, because sometimes a phone tree is much better sometimes than putting out a blast. but at the end of the day, it's about learning. And creating connections with other organizations, other systems change efforts with the participants. If organization A is working on food equity, why not bring them in? Or if organization A is working on park equity, why not bring them in and allow our participants to engage with them on that issue? And then it just allows us to open up and learn more. And also, as in with the support team, you have to prepare participants for the shift, again, as much as we can. Then the second big lesson is around a diverse network to support the ecosystem. And I was thinking this morning, I should have actually stated this as a diverse network that represents the ecosystem. Because again, at the end of the day, it can't be about how do we rely on the same group of people. We have to figure out who else is there and who are those residents and service providers and faith-based institutions. And this is probably not even a full spectrum of who we can bring into the network. Believe me, and it doesn't have to be you as an organizational lead. This is where we begin to tap into those connectors, right? The residents and the organizations that know other groups and know other people. And better yet, we build up the capacity of our organizational lead representatives and our residents to be ambassadors. We don't have to be outreaching. They need to be outreaching, because then that creates more buy-in to this work. The relationships that we build are so important. Sometimes they're transactional, sure. If organization B is providing legal services and a bunch of people are nervous about debt or have some concerns around debt, then that's a good relationship to bring together. But it also has to be about alignment. How are we bringing people together so that, and I'm hoping that nobody's telling me to stop because I'm not looking at the chat. I'm just seeing a bunch of chat on. All right, I think I'm okay. All right, so it's important that we create relationships that are in alignment. Sometimes as an organization, we can't see beyond our issue, the issue that we're trained to work on. And so we have to help those organizations see alignment with the bigger picture of work that we're trying to do, so that they don't feel like they're wasting their time being a part of this collaborative. I believe I told you guys that we would, or told you all, sorry, that we would probably I'd probably leave you with more questions than answers. And I'm hoping that all of those chat things are questions that you have. We are collecting questions. We're not going to answer questions right after this presentation, because we do have an amazing set of leaders that we want to introduce you to, women leaders that have been participating in our place-based efforts, and we'd like for you to hear from them and hear their perspectives on this work. But before I close out, I actually have questions for all of you. There we go. So I'm going to leave you with some questions to think about, and hopefully we can begin to work together to figure out how do we address these issues. Number one, how do we create a revenue stream that really supports not just systems change, but direct service work at the same time? So often our funders will focus on one or the other. Now, there's been some shifts and they're starting to really think about this. I think COVID sort of really laid the groundwork for the realization that we do have to support the needs of the community, but they're still learning, right? So we have to figure out, how do we address this in a better way? Because if we aren't supporting the barriers that the communities face, we can't work on fixing the barriers, right? Like, we have to address both at the same time. And, you know, it could be done in a very collaborative way. So how do we get funders to rethink not only how they collaborate and their funding processes? There are many examples where funders have started to come together. The California, the California Accountable Communities for Health, I also have a link for that in the resources slide, is a good example. This is an initiative that's looking at how do you expand outside of traditional health systems to create partnerships to better improve community health outcomes. Several large funders in California have pooled their money to support that work. So it's possible, it can happen more. And you can even have organizations that traditionally fund the direct service, work collaboratively with those that fund more systems change work and figure out how to get these dollars out there. And additionally, as part of that question too, is this idea of how funders fund. There was a conference last week by Southern California grant makers, and they talked a lot about that. Like, how do they change their processes? There's an effort called trust-based philanthropy, which is just that. How do the funders actually begin to trust us a little bit more just to do the work that we know is right? And work that will sometimes be complicated and not always fit, you know, a year or even a 10-year initiative. Number 3, how do we really shift a focus from singular issues to multiple issues? I think intuitively, our brains tell us, yes, that's right. Like we should be talking about multiple issues because our communities don't live in silos. Our communities don't just live in food issues, don't just live in healthcare issues, don't just live in unemployment issues or homelessness issues, right? They live in all of those spaces. So how do we address that? But all too often, we revert to what is comfortable and what is easy for us, just the singular issue. We're just going to focus on food. We're only going to focus on nutrition part of food and not all the complexities of it. But we have to start to get comfortable with the messiness that is this work, because it is messy and our communities are living in this mess. But we can figure it out. We just have to be able to have those conversations to do so. And finally, how do we create better evaluation metrics to address impact? Like I stated earlier, we can't put time frames on some of this work. And so it's hard to talk about success when our grants are 1 year or even 2, 3 years or even 10-year initiatives. The issues and the challenges that are facing our community are decades, generations, centuries old at this point, right? Like these are things that have been happening to us since the beginning of this country's existence. And so the players have changed, the way they talk about it has changed, but there are still the same issues. So how do we begin to really use evaluation in a way that can address the uniqueness of this work? And I'm going to share with you, there's a project called the Equitable Evaluation Framework that we're starting to kind of look into. And one of their pillars says that evaluation work can and should answer critical questions about, and I'm going to read it to you, ways in which historical and structural decisions have contributed to the conditions to be addressed, effect of a strategy on different populations, effect of a strategy on the underlying systemic drivers of inequity, and ways in which cultural context is tangled up in both the structural conditions and the change in and of itself. It is messy work, but any artist will tell you it is in the mess that you find the beauty and the richness of what efforts are really trying to accomplish. And we can't always measure one initiative to another. We can't measure what works in one community as working in another community. We can look at some of the similarities and create some standards, but at the end of the day, it is about really looking at one community and set of issues and figuring out how do we address them collectively. I apologize. I said I would leave you with more questions than answers, but this is our perspective. And I'm not going to lie and say that or allow you to believe that, oh, we figured it out and we've taken these lessons and we're moving and we're going. No, we're still learning. We're learning how to implement some of these things. We're starting to have conversations with our partners in each of the different initiatives to really think about how do we do this work. And when you get the slides, you'll see all of the resources I've provided for you, so that you can get this information for yourself. I've also learned a little trick on how to translate a whole page, so I give you a little tip there. And that's it for me, Diane. I think we're gonna move into our next section, right?
All right, so thank you, Sonya and everyone. And this has just been a really powerful morning so far. I just want to take one moment before we start our next segment to remind folks about our English and Spanish interpretation. There's a little globe there at the bottom of the screen. So if you can, click on it and select either English or Spanish so we can make sure that
Stop. I'm sorry. Can somebody tell Ruth she is muted or unmute her, please?
Got it. All right, Ruth, hopefully you heard that and you are no longer muted. And okay, so hopefully everybody is on the right language channel. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and move into our next segment. I want to thank Sonya once again for setting the stage around our place-based initiatives and the power of collective impact and working across the community and multiple systems within an ecosystem and within a network to really advance policy and systems change. I often say that, there's nothing new anymore. We're simply trying to find the best practices and move them. And I'm always reminded of, our history in LA with the Brown Berets and the Black Panthers and across California. When they pulled people into communities, they knew they had to clothe you, feed you, and make sure you had housing in order for you to pay attention to doing the work of civil rights and systems change, right? And I think we are getting to a place now where our funders are especially starting to realize this. I definitely want to give kudos to our partners like the California Endowment and First 5 LA and LA Care Health Plan, who really are making some radical changes and progress in addressing issues of social determinants of health and in new and less paternalistic ways, right? Realizing that you really have to work with communities and allow communities the autonomy to not only have the power to identify what they know are the problems and the solutions, but also to have more autonomy over the dollars, right? It always comes down to the money. And as we know, there are literally millions and millions of dollars that are being allocated to the communities of South Los Angeles. And so that takes us to this next segment. And over the last 10 years, South LA has been the focus of several place-based philanthropic investments. These investments include the California Endowment's Building Healthy Communities initiative, which Sonya did speak to a little bit, as well as the First 5 LA's Best Start Communities initiative, which we also touched on, and our own Healthy Kids Zone initiative that's been funded primarily through LA Care Health Plan. These initiatives share several things in common. They strive to give community residents and organizations more autonomy over how funds are allocated in the community. They rely heavily on local leaders to mobilize and advance community change. And they recognize that policy and systems change is the key to long-term sustainable community transformation. But all that said, policy and systems change as it relates to issues of anti-Blackness, xenophobia, and structural racism cannot rest on vulnerable communities alone, meaning that we can't expect the residents of LA, where I grew up, of course, and my mom raised me as a single mother. She certainly wasn't going to be able to change the structural racism and the poverty and the inequities on her own, right? That is a multi-sector approach, and that is why relying on the network and the power of collective impact is so critical to advancing systems change work. So deconstructing these harmful ideologies requires a cross-sector, multi-pronged approach. And today we're going to speak to 3 women who are leading place-based efforts in South LA through the initiatives we mentioned earlier. So to better understand their challenges and how we might improve these place-based efforts, we're going to hear directly from them. So our first conversation will be between myself and Lydia Friend, who is founder of Women of Watts and a member of First 5 LA's Best Start community. And absolutely one of my heroes personally, as I've gotten to know her over the last year. So Lydia, where is Miss Lydia? Let me check on her. Miss
She's here. We just gotta get her to unmute. There we go.
I see her. Yes, I can. How are you doing? Great. How are you doing today, Miss Lydia? All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you know, we're here to listen and to learn from you and your leadership over the last, I think, probably many years. And that's my first.
17 years. Well, actually, I have 7 sons and 1 daughter, so I've been beating the streets for about.
All right.
Yeah.
So collectively, I'm going to take you on that 30 years. I have no doubt. So you got 3 decades.
Yeah.
3 decades. So with that, and that's a long time. In all those years, Miss Lydia, what would you lift up as one of the accomplishments you're most proud of?
Michelle, just really quick, we're having a hard time hearing Ms. Lydia because I don't think she has her mute original audio clicked. So
Yes,
the rest of us can't hear her that have our interpretation on.
I have it on click.
She's calling in on an iPhone, so I don't know if she's able to do that.
Yeah, I can do
She
that.
should be able to. It's just in a different location.
Oh, okay. Can someone walk her through that quickly?
I've already on.
You should, if you can, it should be in the more section too. You just have to tap your screen to see your menu bar come up. And then you should have a more section. And when you click that, or the little 3 dots, when you click that,
3
it
dots.
should take you to the interpretation.
And then it says disconnect audio, meeting. So which one of them you want me to hit? I pushed the 3 dots. Can you hear
Let me
me?
take myself off of.
Yeah.
Interpretation.
Yes.
Okay, so what happens when you click interpretation?
It's a click. It's a check mark.
Okay, and then can you click English, and then can you click mute original audio?
Okay, it's on now. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, I think that's good. I think we're all good now. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
That's great. Great. Thank you.
Perfect. Yes, we're getting positives. All right. So we're going to dial back. Miss Lydia.
Yes.
How long have you been, as you said, beating the streets and working for change? How long has it been?
30 plus. Ever since my boys grew up and when all the gang banging and all the stuff was going on, I made it my business to make sure that I kept my ear to the ground. And so I was a nurse for a long time. So I took a job working part-time, and then I became a parent at the schools, 102nd Street School, Markham, and Jordan High School, to make sure that my kids and other kids were safe.
Wonderful. Can you tell us about a time where you seen that something needed to happen in order to make things better for yourself and for your family, and how that worked out? Can you give us an example of how you advocated for change and a moment that you're proud of that we can learn from?
Well, actually, during the time the kids was going to school, being a parent, you just focusing on the kids and the ones that are around you. And I didn't allow my children to go to nobody's house or nowhere. So I did everything with them. We went bowling, we did everything. But I believe like 17 years ago when I started the organization, I had been in prayer for about 10 years at the church at 4:45 in the morning before I went to work. And my baby was around about 7 years old at the time. And I came in and he was telling me that a young boy had got shot. Well, he said, baby. He said, Mama, the baby got shot. I said, what baby? And how you know a baby got shot? And he was telling me that they were talking about a young kid that came from Texas one summer to visit his grandmother. And he was in the yard and it was a drive-by and he got shot. And in the process of that, the next day he died, and it pierced my soul, and I just wanted to do something about it. And I immediately, me and my prayer partners went into prayer, and that's where Women of Watts was birthed. It was birthed, and it hadn't hit home. And so I was actually went to the city to try to get them to help me to organize just the way God gave it to me. And it was real hard. And that's when I realized how divided our community was, you know, with the community leaders. It was just so divided because nobody wanted to help. And I was determined. I just told them this was mandated by God and it was going to take place. And so I kept fighting. And actually, my nephew got shot about that December. We went in June, and God gave me 6 months to get it together because that's the number he gave me, 6 months. And in June, we went after he got shot. And that's when everything changed in Watts, because it was like a massive killing that took place back and forth from each project. And so that's when they started that gang task force. And so doors began to open, and whatever way the Lord sent me, that's the way I went. And right after that, my baby was away in school, and being in school in West Virginia, came down to visit, and he got shot, and he was dead on arrival. And it just pushed even more in me. And I was on a 40-day fast for him. And so God blessed him to the doctors brought him back, and he didn't have any brain damage, nothing. He just had to wear a colostomy bag, and it just pushed me even more. And I just got out there, and I left my job, and I decided that I just was going to really beat the streets and make a change, not just for my children, but for our community. And I want to make sure those leaders that was getting the funds and saying they was doing this stuff, I just brought them to the light, because they wasn't doing what they said they was doing.
And that's I think a great example, Lydia, and thank you for sharing what you have, because I know Women of Watts has made tremendous impact in the community and has given a place for other mothers and other families who have suffered from losing people to violence. And even today, continuing to lose people, whether it's violence, whether it's COVID, we all need that support system. And sometimes faith is our greatest tool, in moving forward. So you say that, folks aren't doing what they say they were doing. Tell us a little bit more about that.
When I started the organization, I knew nothing about, I knew nothing about sponsorship or funds coming from the city. I didn't know anything about that. I worked and I used my money to do what I needed to do. And somebody had came to me and said that they had a grant. And when they told me about the grant and I went to fill out the paperwork, they told me that if they give me the grant, that I had to give them half of the grant. And I said, why would I give you half of the grant and it's coming to Women of Watts? And I needed to take care of the community. And so he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't fill it out. And it didn't bother to me, because Women of Watts does not belong to Lydia. It was ordained through God, and I trusted him. And to be silly or not, I'm just honest. I was in prayer one day, and God told me to recycle dollars, and I was crazy enough to ask him, how you do that? And he said, go to everybody that you spend money. And I had to laugh, because I couldn't get anything from the community, because the older community leaders, they don't know how, even to today, to let go and train the next mother that's coming up, or the next woman, or the next father that's coming up. They want to hold on and dictate. We have to, it's a time and place that we have to move out the way. Even me, I'm training young ladies now, in Women of Watts, how to run Women of Watts, because we have to train our leaders. We just can't sit back and always want to be in control of everything. And it didn't happen for me. I had to wait until God direct me the way to go. And I've always had private sponsors, because the way I spent my money was with, if I liked your shoes, that's the store I went to. I might have went to other little stores, but you were my main store, and I recycled the dollars. I went back to Penske Toyotas. I have 7 boys, 1 girl. I bought them all a car, so I needed you to sponsor me, and that's how my sponsors came on. I met Tom Mesereau, and he brought in some of the federal judges to help me out, and so my money is all private money, but it's still been spent on the community. And so I didn't stay with just Los Angeles. I went out further. And so we changed the name to Women of Watts and Beyond, because people would call me from different states to come out and set up marches. But in the community, we need to learn that we have to let go and train the young ones that's coming up. Because I'm gonna say this, when I grew up with my granny, we had the wash machine that your hand run through. And now we have these fancy washing machines, or they didn't have radio and they didn't have TV. Now we got internet, radio, everything. So things are still changing every day. And so we have to change with time. And these young people need to be put on the front line so that they know, if we give them something to do and it's positive and they're getting a stipend for it, then they'll change. But as long as we're holding on to it, Michelle, and not letting go, it's not going to happen. I'm going to give you this story real quick. They said that it was always black on brown. And I would walk through the Jordan Downs and Watts, and I didn't know I was really just interviewing people. So I seen a young man that was sitting on the porch, and I asked him, I said, can I ask you a couple of questions? And he was like 14 years old, and he had 3 or 4 little children sitting with him. And I said, and he was African-American. I asked him, I said, why do you guys rob the Hispanics? And he said, we don't. It's called survival. I said, what do you mean by survival? He said, my mother get food stamps. And he told me this story. He said, my mother get food stamps and she's on welfare. I got 5 sisters and brothers, and we all got a different daddy. I said, okay. He said, and the last baby, she gives him the check, and she buys a week worth of food, and she sells the food stamps to go hang out with her friends. So he said, in the Hispanic families, they be having their grandmother, their mama, and they go to work. And when I see them, I just rob them so I can feed my brothers and sisters. So he definitely told me it's called survival, and this is what's going on with our young people. They're not being trained, and the young men are going to gangs and different stuff because they're not being loved, and so I found that when I noticed that, I tried my best to create jobs within my, my business and the church, and do things that would try to help them to do better, and bring people in, to with different organizations to come in. So that's where I'm at right now with Just Watch. It's just that they need to take time out and let go and pass the torch.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Ms. Lydia. I know that for many of us, it's the hardest times that we go through is what, brings out the leaders in our communities, right? And I remember being 16 during the 1992 riots, and that is literally when I started, being an activist and trying to change, for my mom, who was also a single mother. And also realizing at that time that there's so many community organizations, right, that are coming in and can be somewhat complicated, and trying to figure out what they're doing in our neighborhoods or what they're trying to help or support. So, today I know, I met you through our Best Start community effort funded through First 5 LA. And
Nice.
Of course, there are many organizations, and I know you have worked with probably several businesses and foundations over the many years you've been at this. What kind of advice do you have for them in putting all these dollars in our communities? What do you think that they could do to improve how those monies are being distributed and allocated through all these initiatives?
Well, first they need to let us know that the money's available. We have all these new developments coming up, and I didn't even know that it was inside the contract. I just found this out about 6 months ago, that they were in the contract that they were supposed to be able to delegate funds to the community leaders. And because I met a person downtown, I just found out that. So they, first of all, they have to allow us to know, you know, what's here in the city of Watts. And that's again stating that some of the older community leaders that's 75 and 70 years old, they need to allow us to know when they go to those meetings, and they don't share that kind of stuff with us. It's almost like you always have to find out everything on your own. When I met First Five, I just, somebody told me about it, but they had been around for a long time, and that's a really good organization, you know. And so we have to share the news. It don't get out to but a few people.
And that's a great, you know, point as well. And so and then once you have that information relative to all of these sort of funds and opportunities, what's been your experience in being able to access, you know, those dollars and those programs?
Like I said earlier, Michelle, I'm just the type of person that I don't know. Best Five is the only one that I think I received funds from. I don't, when I was younger, I used to push. So now I don't push, I just go the other way. And I never knew about the funds. And so for me, I think it's Hackler. I just demanded from them because it was their children that I was taking care of. And so when it comes to the organizations that have the funds, if I find out about it, and when it's time to do my big events, or if it's time to do something for the kids, I just push and let them know I've been here and I've been doing it, and you've been passing this money out and people not doing nothing. And I'm just gonna blow the whistle. You know, I just kind of threaten them a little bit. I don't know. I just tell them the real, you know. You have to be able to delegate the funds where it's supposed to go and not play favoritism. You know what I'm saying? And this is what's really going on in our community, just right here in Watts. If you don't know nobody or you're not connected to this person, then you don't get the funds. And that's what's really going on in our communities. I'm just gonna keep it 100.
No,
Yeah.
That's a great point, because I think what you're talking about, and in all honesty, we had a conversation with Southern California grant makers not that long ago, where they said part of the challenge is funders are working on their trust issues, you know, and being able to understand that they need to trust more people in the community, like yourself, Ms. Lydia, and like some of the other women we're going to hear speaking in just a moment, that you do know what the community needs. And I think what we've learned from you today, Ms. Lydia, is that faith matters, and that you have to speak up, and that you can't give up, and you have to keep pushing. And if there is anything that I know I'm taking away from this conversation is, you know, I dare not better get up and say that, you know, I'm tired, because you certainly haven't done that in 30 years, and you keep pushing, and we are, you know, really honored and proud of our partnership, you know, with you, Miss Lydia, and in the community of Watts. So before we tie this up and listen to our next speaker, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us in closing?
No, just that I appreciate you guys asking me to speak. And to the next ladies that's listening, leaders, when you feel like you're tired and want to give up, just keep going. Because if it's just one soul, one child, one human being that you can help, that's what matters. You know, that's what matters. One person at a time. And sometimes that's all it takes. Because it's a lot of times that I wanted to just stop and give up, and look like every time I want to give up, God will send somebody my way that truly needed me. I was in church Sunday, and a young lady walked up to me. She said, "Hi, Miss Lydia." I don't know the young lady. And she was like, "Hi, Miss Lydia." I said, "Hi." She said, "Thank you so much. I got the house. I really want to tell you I love you for helping me." Patricia, I didn't know I helped her. I didn't know I helped her. I went and gave my testimony and told them about the lady but I don't remember. I don't remember helping her, but she said I helped her. She said I helped her get the house, but I don't remember it. But she walked into me. She gave me a hug, and I was telling her it's pandemic. We don't hug. She said I just gotta hug you because I got the house. I don't remember it. And that's what matters when people can come back. That's what makes me feel good when you can come back and say, you know what, thank you, Miss Lydia, I got the house, or thank you, Miss Lydia, I got the job. And then the struggle, it makes it real. You know, it makes it real that, you know, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
That's right. That's right. Well, we absolutely know that you are doing what you are supposed to be doing. And I personally will thank the Lord above for giving you all of the information he has given you today. And I hope he keeps giving it to you. I'm sure he will. And thank you so much, Miss Lydia, for joining us today. We love you and we appreciate you. And we are thankful for all that you have done and all that you will do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. All right, so now we are on to our next phenomenal woman. We are going to have one of our partners, Emily McGowan, who is a part of the PADER consulting group, interviewing Miss Patricia Hernandez, who's also a leader in our Best Start community and has been recognized by the City Council for her tremendous leadership in South LA as well. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Emily and Patricia.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to say a little bit about Patty. Patricia Hernandez and I have actually met probably about 1.5 years ago, and it was through the Best Star Broadway Manchester community. And ever since I've known her, she's always been a spitfire. I mean, she's been, no matter what challenge she's faced, she's always you know, did it head on, and I appreciate her for that, especially being a mom of 3. And she's volunteered at various organizations that I know of, like LAPD, SBCC, Declares Health, and some others, you know, and you could always find her volunteering at Avalon Gardens, distributing food to the community. So it's my pleasure to be able to interview her for this and just talk to her one-on-one. This is going to be a great experience for me, and I hope it is for her too. So with that, you know, I just want Patty to tell us a little bit about herself. If she's there. Are you there, Patty?
Yes, of course I'm here. Hello, good morning, everybody. The only thing I can tell you is that, well, I grew up in a matriarchy. My mom, like me, was a single mother. I am a single mother with 3 children. I've been here for 24 years, and it's been quite difficult and rough, but we keep pushing forward with a positive attitude and doing everything we can.
So can you tell us a little bit how you got started working in the community?
Here I live in Avalon Gardens, which is public housing, part of the project. And here where it used to be more racism before than now. But what motivated us as Latino residents, we had to be involved in order to get any changes. So that's what sparked me to be a community leader, because I wanted to see changes in my community.
So what do you think are some of the challenges that you faced being a woman and a mom in leadership?
There are many challenges. I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. I have a hassle because I didn't even know where to start. I couldn't be a leader, but Well, if you tell me I can't, I'm just gonna prove you wrong. And I'm gonna push forward and I'm gonna try to do my best and beyond. One of the challenges is the language. I only speak Spanish, but that has not stopped me for going after what I want, what I need, fight for my community, try to get to that change, try to show it. Here in Avalon Gardens, most of us are Latino residents, and most of us mainly speak Spanish only. So to be honest with you, that is something that my community is kind of afraid of. Like you're not really gonna talk to the community, to the police. Do you think they're not gonna listen to you because you only speak Spanish? But they're open-minded. They can chat with us. They hang out with us. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, I've definitely seen your leadership skills, you know, even being an example of a mom and a leader amongst the people at Broadway Manchester. So that's, I'm glad that you spoke a little bit about that too. Um, so how do you think, or how has being a mom in leadership impacted your family?
Impactando a tu familia. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I don't know what's going on with my phone. I didn't hear it fully.
No
Pilar,
problem.
you're on the English channel again.
I'm translating Patty. I'm in the English channel.
But yeah, I can. I don't think she can hear you.
Emily, can you just repeat the question, please, for Patricia?
Sure. I said, how has being a mom in leadership impacted her family?
Honestly, at the beginning, I was told, what are you getting into? Why are you getting involved? But I'm trying to show my family that if you want to see changes, you need to be involved. And now, actually, my children, when we go to an event or a meeting, they get to know all the information that they're sharing. They get to learn we need to collaborate, we need to be involved. And now they actually help me with a lot of things because so many times you're running from one place to another and you're kind of neglecting them actually. But they now are helping a lot and supporting me, and it's all about getting better organized at home.
You know, I can really relate to that because I've had my kids follow me to meetings just so we can all be together, and I've seen that be the example for them to participate in some things. And I remember my daughter saying, "Oh no," telling her friends, "I can't go to that. I have to be at this because that's where my family is." So I really appreciate what you're saying. You know, you've been an example to your kids as well as the people in the community, and that's awesome. Um, how do you think, can you give me an example of how you've overcome some of the challenges that you've had?
Well, with the family, mainly talking to them, discussing it with them, the fact that this is good for everybody, positive for everybody. We are growing. I'm growing, they are growing. A lot of things I do not know, but I think they can tell that I am changing because I'm learning. Before, I mean, we've gone through a lot of workshops, which have helped me a lot. I've learned a lot. I used to get upset and start yelling. Now I can control my temper. So they see that. But she's muted. Okay, she's back. Can you hear me? We're back if you want to continue, Emily.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if she was done or not, if there was something more she wanted to share. Okay. So, what kind of advice do you have for organizations like
Hold on,
First?
hold on,
Oh,
hold on,
okay.
I'm sorry. I just, well, we're going through this change, we're learning, we are all learning, we're all growing, and we're walking hand in hand. And I truly feel their support, which I didn't exactly have at the beginning because we're constantly in meetings, events, but they know I do it for the well-being of everyone.
Okay. Thank you. So, what advice do you have for organizations like First Five that are trying to make positive changes as well?
I don't really have much to say. You guys have a great team. You're working a lot. You're always supporting us. And the only thing that I would say is don't leave. Don't leave us, please. All the trainings, all the workshops, we are learning so much. I used to panic if I ever had to talk in front of people. Now you can shut me up. I have met a lot of great people like Emily, Miguel, so many people, and 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 we just learn from you. We don't want this to ever end because it just feels like we are just beginning to push for the change. It's just like a little bit at the beginning of where we can get. And and in all our meetings, when obviously we cannot meet in person right now, but all the childcare and all the programs and everything, we would like to this to just continue and advance.
So being a mom, what kind of advice do you have for other moms who want to be in leadership as well?
I would simply tell them not to be afraid. Everything can be achieved in life. You just have to organize yourself, and everything that we're learning is invaluable. We take with ourselves, and if we want to change things, we need to get involved. We need to commit. We need to participate. When we did the surveys in December, and people didn't want to be involved, didn't want to listen to the questions, that's what I would say. How are you expecting a change if you're not even willing to answer a survey? So we were literally chasing down people and forcing them to answer our questions. So do not be afraid. Open your mind to the work we're doing and see about the facts. That's what I would say. For these people to be able to see for themselves and believe in what we're doing.
Right. That's great advice for a lot of people because so many people have fear, right? Fear of doing, and fear is the false evidence appearing real, right? It's not what we all need to be fearful of, right? We need to just look deep down and say, hey, I can do this. We can all do this, and we can work together to do this. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So, in thinking about the type of support that you need as a mom and as a woman, um, what do you think? How do you think that could be supported by organizations like First Five?
Although it seems like I am repeating myself like a broken record, the trainings that you are giving us, all that information that you're sharing. I'm pretty much new at it. Unlike Lydia, who has been volunteering for many years, I'm new, I'm learning, and I'm hungry for more learning. All this information that you share with us, all the trainings, all the workshops, we are so glad that you're doing so. We are so happy that you're doing so. Especially with the support when we were having live meetings, all the support with transportation, childcare. I mean, even now via Zoom, the information is excellent.
Okay. Now you said a lot about how we've supported you and so what's something that you've been involved with or that you've done that you're most proud of?
Uh, I have really, back in the day when I first met someone was Yesenia from SBCC, Miguel Perla. They were trying to bring resources into Avalon Gardens, and we used to donate backpacks that were empty, but we donated backpacks. But when I learned about how much you were learn about helping the community, what I did is I presented a, a partners a sponsorship application. I don't know, 2, 3 years ago already. We were able to organize that large event because now we were able to donate not only the backpacks but the school supplies. We also organized activities and we put together an event, and that way we were able not only to help Avalon Gardens but the surrounding communities. There are families with 12 children, and they were able to come and live with a backpack and a smile. So we have also worked a lot to create a food bank here in Avalon Gardens. It took us a whole year to be able to develop the program. Right now, it's hard work. And hey, I'm here talking to you, but they're waiting for me to unload the truck. But makes me feel happy because with all the pandemic, all the people that had lost their jobs, have no income, might be sick, is motivating us to be better, to work harder because people come to take their food boxes, food bags. Is you end up quite tired, but it's such a feeling to be able to help all these people.
Yes, I was at one of the Avalon Garden events last year, I think it was, and everyone was having a good time. Everybody was enjoying themselves, and they appreciated. I could tell they all appreciated the work that was being done there. And even with the food boxes, I've seen you um, with the food boxes as well. I've been to one of those events also. My last question, because I know that you have to go, is what is the impact you want to leave the world?
To be honest with you, I would like I would like to see everybody digging in to find that volunteer within yourself because in many cases throughout this pandemic, I feel like instead of being united, we are more separated, we are farther away. We should get to know our neighbors. A lot of people are suffering some kind of loss, family members, your job. We are in crisis, we are in a crisis, but I really would like to see people touching their heart and find a way to help, to volunteer, because if we help each other, we're just going to be able to move forward and live in a better world.
Thank you, Patty. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you so much, Miss Patricia. Bless you in all the work that you're doing. And I just have to say, before we move on to our next phenomenal one, Miss Patricia and
I'm sorry. Thank you very much from Patricia.
Thank you. Thank you, Patricia. Miss Patricia and Miss Lydia are both graduates of our Leading for Equity series that we had over the course of the last year in partnership with Pacific Oaks College and Community Health Council Social Change Institute. And they dedicated many, many hours of their time for a fairly rigorous curriculum and were awarded accredited certificates from our partner at Pacific Oaks for their time and their efforts in continuing to grow and learn in their leadership. So it is just wonderful to hear Ms. Patricia talk about the value of continuing to provide access to the tools and information that our leaders need to advance and have community transformation. And so with that, I am super excited to present to you Pastor Kelvin Sauls will be interviewing Ms. Martha Placentia of our Healthy Kids Zone initiative. And with that, Pastor, the floor is yours.
Pastor Sauls,
We can hear you. You're great.
I can't hear him.
I don't think we can hear him on the English channel, the same thing that was happening with our last pair. Pastor Sauls, if you could just go down to your...
Okay, I just did it. Can you hear me now?
You're awesome. You're there. Thank you.
All right. They helped me with that earlier on, so I learned something new about Zoom today. So good to be here. As Michelle said, Kelvin Sauls is my name. Glad to be part of the CHC team. And I've had the privilege for the last 12 plus months to coordinate the Healthy Kids Zone program, which is our community place-based program at Fremont High School. And have had just an awesome time there, just around gaining and interpreting, integrating the knowledge that we've received from the community. Just as a reminder, before I introduce one of our amazing leaders, and I think I want to slow down a little bit so that Pilar can do what she does best. By the way, shout out to Pilar, y'all. She's doing a great job, you know, interpreting for us. Hey, what's up, my sister?
Hey,
just to quickly
my brother, and to Ruth too. Ruth.
Just to share with you the three goals that our community came up with that we were working on implementing the last 12 months. One, housing and affordability, as well as houselessness, you know, in Southeast Los Angeles. Number two, streetscapes and community safety, you know, in Southeast Los Angeles. And the third one, you know, was the impact of flavor tobacco as well as cannabis. And so, you know, it was great to just be with the community around all of this. It is a joy for me today to have a conversation, be in conversation with one of our leaders in the Healthy Kids Zone place-based initiative that's been emanating from Fremont High School in Southeast Los Angeles. Ms. Marta Placentia is a wife, a mother, and former employee as the Parent Center Coordinator at Fremont High School. Moreover, she has done the HKZ work. I am where I am in HKZ because of Marta Placentia, due to her radical hospitality at Fremont High School, welcoming me and basically schooling me about, you know, what was going on and what we were about to embark on. So She's been the hub for HKC work as well as a leader in the Healthy Kids Zone Ambassador program that we have. Her partnership has enabled the launch and the growth of HKZ. So having said all of that, let me welcome Marta Plasencia. Are you there? Hola. Thank you so much. I know you have a young one in school, so we're glad you're taking some time off just to be with us. Let's get right with it. How are you and your family doing? I know these have been some crazy couple of months for all parents and families, you know, because of COVID and how that has just bring so much change. So first and foremost, how are you and your family doing? Yeah.
Distance, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
I think
Given the transition to
Pastor
Yes.
Sauls, unfortunately, we're not able to hear Ms. Plasencia because she doesn't have her original audio muted.
Okay, so does that mean she has to go to orientation, whatever that is? You got it?
So go.
Yeah, so Martha, if you look down below, are you on a phone, Martha?
Yeah, so you need to push English and then unmute original audio. And that will allow the rest of us on the interpretation to be able to hear you.
Or I think she needs to mute original audio, right?
Yeah, mute
Yes.
original audio.
Okay, I did it. Does it work?
Can you say something again? No, for some reason are you on the English channel? Okay, and then does it say unmute or mute? Sorry, hold on, let me switch. As long as you select mute, I think we should be able to hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
So I did it. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Okay, I'm gonna mute mine and then ask you to just say something. Okay, can you say something? No, okay.
Okay.
So should I try it audio again? Original audio? Is it better? No.
I guess for this session,
We'll be patient.
if it won't work, we could just have everyone unmute their original audio and then we would be able to hear her.
Will the interpreters be able to hear her
Okay.
to interpret for the Spanish channel?
yeah, that's it's.
Looks like Pilar can hear her.
Okay, so the rest of us will unmute so we can hear.
Okay.
So you guys could hear me if I put mute original audio or just?
I think Martha, it's the need to mute original audio. So if you click on mute original audio. Yeah, no, that didn't.
It's not working.
Not working.
Okay.
That's okay. That's all right.
The rest of us will unmute original audio.
Yeah,
All right.
if you have a hard time hearing Martha, just go back down to your interpretation circle and just unmute your original audio and then we should all be able to hear Martha. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on.
That's okay. We're gonna make it work, Martha. Okay, so let's quickly check. Can everybody hear Martha say something quickly?
Hi, my name is Marta. You guys can hear me?
I see a lot of thumbs up. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and start over. How are you doing, Marta?
We're doing pretty good, my family and I, and coping with this COVID-19 and learning distance.
Yes, and we have a new family member now, and his or her name is Zoom, right? around that. So
Yes.
Zoom has been part of the family. Quickly, given the transition to e-learning, Marta, how has navigating the school system as a mother, particularly, a mother of color, has a special needs child?
Well, it's been challenging, but we're making it. I had to learn how to do the Zoom. I had to learn how to, with different computers and different um, things, different technology, I could say that. And we're just trying to make our best.
Yes, yes, yes. Can you tell us a little bit about, given, the time that you've spent in that community, Southeast Los Angeles, as well as, being part of, the Fremont High School community, what has your experience been being a mother and then also an advocate, for the HKZ work that we've done there?
So I started as a volunteer. Then I got offered the job for being a parent community. And I've always been shy. And then I find out about being an ambassador for KHC and knowing what you guys would do, that being in the community, talk to people. And it's been amazing. I get to work with a lot of people. I get to use a little bit more of my emotions getting down of not being able to talk, but HKC have helped me to do that. And it's just been wonderful meeting new people, meeting you. It's just been amazing.
Now, I said earlier on that that parent center truly has become a hub for all of us. We have all of our meetings there with the community, whether it's our safety meeting, whether it's our HKZ ambassadors meeting, our community partners meeting. I mean, that parent center just became a buzz around the work that we were able to do and that we were engaged in, around, a healthy kids zone and this place-based, work around that. Tell us a little bit about, how did that enable you to, connect, with the various, partners that we have, whether it's the parents, that would be there, the staff that we had at Fremont High School, the safety officers at the school, as well as some of our community partners. As a mother and as an advocate, just say a little bit about that.
So I will help coordinate all the meetings, be there on time and set up the work. And it was amazing how when we coordinate that, everybody will come in, and then just seeing the smiles and all that, it was really nice just to see everybody, and then coordinating, and of course having everybody there. And it was just I like it. That was one of my things. And I like to volunteer, so and feeling myself helpful, it was even better.
Yeah. Share some of the, Marta, some of the lessons that you've learned while doing this work, as well, let's start with lessons. What are some of the lessons that you've learned about yourself, about, Fremont High School, and about the community?
Just when you go out in the community and know what the needs are, it was like more hands and now knowing what their needs are. So we started doing that. So it was, you see, by doing that, it was the helping hand, and so it helped me in my personal to grow and to be able to talk more. That was one of my main things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about not being able to talk more, but I'm telling you, every time we would be in that parent center, I mean, you were running it. I mean, you were, just doing what you did best, and it was just great around that. would you share with us some of the challenges that you've experienced, as a woman, a leader, as a mother, as a woman of color, and just the work that that you were doing as part of the coordinator of the Parent Center, but also as part of an ambassador with the Healthy Kids Zone?
The challenges are to go out and try to find the people that are interested. And it was, well, I like that. So when we go out and try to find the people and try to help them too. So there was quite challenges on that.
Yeah. What about any challenges that we had, that you've had maybe with some of our partners? Because I know we work with law enforcement, both the LAUSD police as well as LAPD. We've worked with several of our other advocacy groups. Any challenges, and I may want to add, how has the presence of HKZ, helped, with the, with what parents and students were facing on campus, given the partnership that we had, with you and the administration?
We're just coordinating our meetings, and everything that we'll talk about it, we always try to use it. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Try to use it around our kids, especially in Fremont. And well, it was challenging because we had to coordinate, and we had to get our participating of our community, go out there and try to tell them to come in to the meetings and get them the information. That was it's still challenging to get them,
Mm-hmm.
the parents to cooperate.
Yeah. Tell us how many children have you had that graduated from Fremont High School?
I have two.
Yeah, two that graduated.
Two older.
Yes. Now, one of them, if I can remember correctly, was part of our Streetscapes program with LA Commons that really employed art, and artivism, as part of, us working to uplift, that community. Tell us a little bit about you and your, I think it was your daughter, right?
My daughter.
Her experience together in just helping to research it, conceive the program, and then last year during the homecoming, we dedicated those beautiful medallions. Tell us a little bit about how did that feel, as a mother working with your daughter on that project.
It was very nice. She always liked art. So when they show us the project of having the Fremont students participating in it, it was amazing. So she enjoyed being there. She enjoyed the time. They show her a lot of skills, and for us as our ambassadors was to choose the artist and choose what kind of we chose the medallions, and it was amazing. Like, if you go to Avalon, where the Fremont's at, you can see the big medallions inside. It was beautiful. It was an overwhelming experience of joy to see her. She was happy, and to see all the other kids drawing and doing that, it was an amazing.
Yeah. One thing that was so powerful about that work is that up until this point, we have not had to deal with any graffiti on those medallions a clinic that we placed there. I mean, that is just a sign of the power around place-based, participatory research, because it emanates from the community and it becomes part of the pride of that community. So that's just been very, very phenomenal to me, for us not having to get any liquids or paint, whatever we had to do to deal with graffiti. So really appreciate that. Tell us a little bit, as a mother and an advocate, what motivates you, to do what you do, for the children, with the parents, and with the Healthy Kids Zone project? What motivates you?
Well, I always like to give out to the community, and when the HKC gave us the opportunity to do that, that was one of the things that it attracted me. And by me participating help as much as I can. That was one of my goals, of even working at Fremont and doing other tasks. That was my main goal, to get more community in, see them, how the impact of a simple drawing changed all the view of it.
Yeah. You know, you and as part of our relationship there, I know sometime last fall, Fremont had to go into lockdown because of, you know, a fight on campus, and the departments couldn't get on campus because it was locked down. But it was, you know, a joy for us to be able to communicate with you and some of the other staff about what was going on campus. You know, because we got so concerned because, you know, police showed up in riot gear, and just a lot of trauma occurred on campus. And we were able to be part of both with the administration, the principal, the vice principals, several of the staff, as well as, you know, the students, in just working through how there could have been a different response, you know, to that. Our relationship with you and the staff there really provided us with so much to be able to support from the outside. We were at Peace Chapel Church as advocates, kind of just monitoring what was going on by texting you and others. Tell us a little bit about, you know, being in the midst of that, you know, a challenge, and being in contact with us on the outside. Just, you know, and I'm sure you were probably in touch with some of the other parents. How did this program, you know, allowed you, you know, to feel supported during that difficult time last fall?
When that happened, yeah, never had seen that before, the tactic of the LAPD doing. But it was scary at the same time. But with you guys' support and you guys, you know, concerns and everything, we did fine. I mean, we at that moment it was scary, but we, with all the groups being, and all the teachers and everybody trying to help, it calmed down, and it went well. Of course, with you guys' support and the LAPD support, it was more, we felt it. That's what
yeah. Yeah, it was quite fascinating. Would you engage in this work? Is there something that you've done and involved in that you are most proud of as your work as a mother advocate, you know, here in, you know, the HKZ program? Anything that you are proud of?
Just that I get to meet wonderful people like yourself and try to help the community. I think that's like a pat in the back for me, saying, okay, I wanted to do that and I did it. And of course, with you guys' help, it's been very joyful.
Yeah. Most of our ambassadors are women and mothers, and it's just been such a learning experience for all of us to be able to work with you and walk with you with everything that we had to deal with at Fremont and, you know, in that community. What advice might you have, you know, to empower other mothers, you know, like you know, to do the same around, you know, implementing their motherhood by way of advocacy?
So when we were able to go out, not at the moment, but I always tell them, if you try it to be involved in your community. Try to be involved in whatever program is good for you. But in this case, I will show them the HKC and see and enjoy the moment when you're there. And for me, it was like telling them to try it first, and I'm pretty sure you will like it. Mostly our volunteers are our ambassadors. So I would just recommend them to try it and go out and see. And it's a small change, but then it gets bigger if the community comes with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we draw to a close, what advice do you have? We know that HKZ has been funded, and we're so grateful for the resource that we've received, to be able to do this work with all of you. Any words that you have for those who've been supportive, of this work, as we've done the research together. When Raymond led the team, I came along and worked with further development and then implementation. We've been able to pass, really several legislation on the state as well as the county level and the city level because of the work that we've done around it. Any words that you want to share who have been in partnership with us by providing resources?
Just I've seen that the commitment of you guys. I love that. That's one of the attractions that I needed from you guys. It's just wonderful how you work together, how you cooperate with each other. You guys do an amazing job all the time. All I could say is thank you for the opportunity for me being involved with you guys. And if one little grain of salt, like you say, will turn into big, that's why I'm in.
Great. Well, Marta Plasencia, thank you so much. You, with so many of our other women leaders in that community, you are a beacon of light. We cannot do what we do if it was not for you allowing us or being a port of entry for us into that community, into that school community. And I tell you, when I walk up to the school and they ask me, what you doing here, and I just say, hey, I'm here to see Marta Plasencia. I mean, the doors just open for me in terms of where I need to be at. So I just want to thank you for mentoring me. Your mentorship and your partnership has just been extraordinary and has enabled me to be able to work with our team to do the work that we are doing. So we're looking forward to your ongoing leadership and partnership because your contribution and your collaboration. And as I always say to all of us, muchas gracias and abrazos.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Pastor
Thank
Saul.
you, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Martha. This has been a phenomenal session and really an opportunity, I think, for all of us to, again, listen and learn from the women and the mothers and the leaders who are on the ground every day. I know, again, it is very personal to me because I know, my mother was certainly challenged and never really felt empowered to be involved and to have a voice. And it's just so critical to our ability to create safer spaces and more equitable spaces for our families and children, to lift up the voices of the many women and mothers that really are the engines behind all of these place-based initiatives. We've been working hard to increase male and father participation, but at the end of the day, in these spaces and places, they are largely women and women of color. And as you heard today, they are fearless. They will not be deterred. And we are grateful to each of them for all of the work and all of the effort that they put in. We also wanted to make the point that, much of the work that they do is unpaid and unrecognized, and that we've been working with funders to really challenge themselves to do a better job of figuring out how we stop robbing community leaders of time. We want them to go to trainings and workshops and advance policy and systems change, but they are not being equitably compensated for that time and those efforts. And so we certainly at Community Health Councils are looking and constantly, advancing whatever sort of agendas we can that will help to remedy that disparity between the amount of work and effort that our resident community leaders put in and the lack of actual compensation that they are receiving. So thank you again for that. And I know that we're over time. For those of you who would like to hang out, we still have a few more things we'd like to do, probably take us about 15 minutes. We would like Diane, the illustrious MC Diane, that's what I call her now. She's going to come back on and she's going to give us some words of wisdom about the upcoming elections and things that we should be aware of. And then perhaps I think Sonya is going to also have a little bit of a conversation with Diane relative to what we just heard, connecting it back to Sonya's fantastic presentation that opened this whole session up around the strength of collective placemaking and collective impact. With that, Diane?
Thank you, thank you. Well, you know, there's been so much said and so much wisdom and so much power and so much reflection, right, for everyone who's participating, so thank you. One of the things that I think was important as our CEO at CHC laid the stage of where we are as a community, where we are as a nation, and what CHC is built upon and where it is headed and what it stands for. One of the things that was important for us was that we continue the conversation and elevate the leaders and the community as November 3rd is upon us. So yesterday, we launched a voter education effort at the organization, and it's called Slate for Justice. And we've taken formally positions. This is the website, or the webpage, should I say, within our website. So I think we're going to pass on for folks information through the chat window. But located on our website is the launch of our voter education effort. Very important to us that we take not only positions of what's on the ballot this November 3rd, and that includes Proposition 15 we're in support of, Proposition 16, Proposition 21, 17, 18, and Measure J, the most important one that we see in terms of the future, as well as taking a no position on Proposition 20. So the website section for the organization that houses our voter education effort that launched yesterday is really to empower and provide not only tools for the community, for those that are on the call, that are not only our funders, our future funders, and most importantly, our coalition of leaders that we continue to work with on multiple levels at the organization. So if you start to see the hashtag Slate for Justice, you'll know that it's CHC's. But really what we're focused on is mobilizing the community, educating them about what's on the ballot, but really talk about from a health equity piece of our work is that health is on the ballot this November 3rd. With much of what is happening across the next 34 days for us as a country, what we witnessed last night and what we'll continue to do in whatever capacity we are in as a leader in our community, it's important for us to all mobilize and be important information out to the community. So we just ask that you make sure you're aware of what we're doing. If you're interested in partnering with us on not only what we're doing in the next 34 days, but really to capitalize what you may be doing and how we collectively can do that together, please email us. Contact information, I think, is being put in the chat. It is located on the website, but it is chc-inc.org/Slate for Justice, and you will find more information. So thank you for making sure that you do what you do, but more importantly, that we had a chance to also provide insight about the next 34 days. Oh, and one last thing, we don't have it scheduled yet, but we're targeting the end of October for a voter town hall panel that is focused specifically for residents in South LA. You'll be hearing more about that, but we're targeting somewhere in the last 2 weeks of October, with those final days moving forward to November 3rd. We know that ballots start reaching registered voters as early as October 5th, but more importantly, our community can register even the day of if they're not registered as of now. But more information for that as we get towards the end of October. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Diane. And Sonya, did you want to close us out with your final thoughts on today's woman-powered place-based initiatives.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. A lot of really great information today. I always learn when I listen to our residents and our partners speak. I always find it weird that we say our resident, they're our partners, right? Like we're partners in this with them. And so often they can say things more eloquently than I can. I think, everything that Miss Lydia talked about in terms of, really we're building up our next generation, and at some point we need to be able to move out of the way. The whole notion of we're working ourselves out of a job, it shouldn't be something we just say. It should be the truth, right? We need to be able to lift up our next generation, our next group of leaders. This shouldn't be about us. So I appreciate her thoughts and her words of wisdom. I think both Ms. Patty and Ms. Placencia also said that we need to make sure that we're consistent and we're there, right? And it's not always going to be the same staff, it's not always going to be the same partners, but we need to have that presence in the community. And it's not just us at CHC, right? That's all of us, right? That we all need to have that presence. We all need to be working together. There are many things happening in Watts, in Compton, all of South LA that, and there's too much to be done, there's a need for all of us. We just have to figure out how to work better together to get this work done. I'm excited. I laid out a lot of questions. I hope people are ready to throw down and really jump in and figure out, how do we get these questions answered? How do we work with our funders to make sure that they are coming from a place of trust and not from this place of, this is our money and we're just going to hold it and we'll let you know if we want to play with you or not, right? So I'm excited for day 2 tomorrow, and yeah, I know we're already over time, so I think I'll stop there.
Awesome. I think that's a wrap. That's the show. That's the show. Coffee, take a bow. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, everybody who hung out, the 60 folks that are on there. Thank you most of all to our phenomenal speakers, Martha, Lydia, and Patricia. We thank you. Look forward to seeing you again. And please, please, please join us tomorrow, everybody. Have a great, great day.